Welcome back to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. We appreciate you spending time with us, and we have another great session today. This edition made possible by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alan Kornhauser. Hi, Alan.
Hey, hi, Fred.
Great to see you. And obviously, to people who are watching, there was a bit of a mishap a couple days ago that you went through, and we're just glad to see that hopefully you're going to be healing and you're okay.
Yeah, I'm okay. It looks a heck of a lot worse than what it is. I just took a face plant on the sidewalk, actually, outside the emergency ward after I had my finger taken care of. So I had to be readmitted about 2 seconds after I got out. Amazing how there are, trip hazards outside of hospitals. I guess that's how they generate revenue. They got an MRI out of this thing. I mean, and another $175 copay for me. I mean, cut it out. Smart driving cars should get such revenue opportunities.
Well, we just want you to heal up. That's all.
No, I'm fine. Well, that's yes.
All things considered, you're here.
Yes, so. I'm here.
And we hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. We're going to jump right into the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter. The Drive reports that Argo AI folded after a lifeline from Amazon never arrived. Apparently, there were talks that were going on between Amazon, Ford, VW, and they just couldn't decide, I guess, how things would be governed. That was the impression I got here.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate because, as I point out in the newsletter, I think Larry Burns pointed out in his book Autonomy that Ford had made an attempt to partner up with Waymo, maybe like I don't know, I've forgotten the year, 2012, 13, or 14, early on, which would have probably changed a lot of things if that one would have gone through, and it fell through. I guess, they finally were able to successfully partner up with Volkswagen to really bolster Argo AI. But in the end, another one with Amazon apparently didn't come through. And it's all this driverless opportunity for Amazon. We've always said, or I always feel is really important to them because my goodness, if they can do driverless delivery between midnight and 5 a.m., when it's relatively easy, they might not do all their delivery, but certainly a certain percentage, maybe 10%, 15%, whatever the number is, enormous opportunity for them. And one speculates that they're, of course, working on it. They did acquire Zoox. And
I think they have a stake in Rivian too, which may not be
they have
but,
yeah. Well, Rivian provides the vehicle, and Zoox would provide the driver. And I think there are two pieces of these things. There's a vehicle, and there's the driver, the computing sensor and actuation and computing stack that replaces the driver, and they're two different pieces. I mean, and has anyone been excuse me, has anyone been successful at doing both? I don't know. Not really yet. I mean, GM Cruise is still modifying a vehicle that hasn't been built for purpose. They apparently have designed one and will produce one, the Orion vehicle. But everyone else, including Waymo, they're doing the driver and somebody else is doing the vehicle. They tried to do the vehicle at one point and realized that that's a tough task. And Zoox has always been out there saying, trying to do it all, doing the vehicle, doing the driver, and putting the whole thing together, and maybe even operating it. Again, it requires partnerships, and it's a shame to see this one fall apart.
It is. Continental is integrating Ambarella's scalable system on chip family in advanced driver assistance systems. This is some pretty important news.
Yeah, it is, because certainly Alberto Broggi, who's a guy going back to the DARPA challenges, vision guy who's been working with Ambarella to make all this happen. And basically, at least my take on it, and I certainly don't have any inside information and whatever, but my take on it is that Ambarella's approach on this is largely like Mobileye's approach. In other words, trying to do the chipset that actually on which the computation is going to take place, as well as providing the tools to basically do all the automation tasks. And in a sense, this is what NVIDIA's done also. They're certainly building the compute element of it, as well as all the tools, the software tools on top, to be able to do the pieces for some aspects of automated driving. And really, where NVIDIA, at least this is purely my thoughts on this, NVIDIA, Mobileye, and Ambarella are focused on is they're really focused on improving advanced driver assistance initially. And I think we've commented that that's really where Mobileye's revenue is coming from and their success. It's really where NVIDIA is doing the similar things. And now Ambarella's in there. It looks like in a partnership with Continental, this was the announcement, is another now opportunity to do advanced assistance systems for drivers. So it's, if you want to use the SAE or NHTSA terminology, this is for level 2 plus. This is the same thing that, what Elon calls full self-driving, which is not full self-driving, which is, again, assisting the driver in all these systems. Nothing is being sold out there for which a driver is not required to stay stay attentive to the driving task. Maybe allows you to, glance away for a couple of seconds and so on and so forth, but nothing more than that. It's the same thing with GM system and Ford systems and so on.
And what we're seeing, Alan, right, is that the driver assistance systems can generate revenue, and we've learned how important that is for these companies that maybe they were focused on full autonomy and with no money coming in.
Yeah, right. I think it's, I think at some point it's nice to have investors supporting you, but at some point this thing has to be a business, because the investors, if it's not a business, the investors are going to run out of steam, as we saw in with Argo AI, is just going to run out of steam. And it's not surprising. And
too, right?
Yeah, and so and of course, what concerns me is that those that are doing the driverless piece, trying to continue on to be able to have to pull the driver out of these systems, really aren't focusing on what I think is the important piece of taking a driver, the element that really makes it different, that's going to create a marketplace, is the affordability. And the reason you want to pull a driver out of a vehicle might be safety. You might think that a computer operates safer than a professional driver who's out there alert all the time. Come on. I mean, that's a heck of a hill to climb. I mean, those folks are absolutely safe, essentially. And to think that we're going to make computing things that are better than that, don't believe it. Okay, certainly not better than the good ones. Okay, maybe better than the average, certainly better than the average when you consider the misbehavior that takes place, because of course this takes away the misbehavior. But otherwise, no, I mean, it's no. But what it does do is makes mobility substantially more affordable. And especially in moving people, because in moving people, it's not that you have to pay a chauffeur while they're driving you. It's that you have to pay the chauffeur while the chauffeur is sitting around waiting for you. Because the way we end up using our own cars is the car sits there and waits for us until we use it. And because we're doing the driving, we don't need somebody there watching over it or anything. Just sits there. Well, if we can have it just sits there and drive us, my goodness, that's an enormous affordability piece. And you don't see any of these folks, even the folks that are trying to sell it to the trucking companies, about the affordability. And I claim that there's no reason why the affordability of this thing doesn't have to be, something that half of an order of magnitude, or maybe even an order of magnitude cheaper. Certainly, if you can get ride sharing within these things, becomes an order of magnitude, factor 10. And that creates the market. But you don't see stories, you don't see any of them, you don't see their blogs focusing about how much less expensive it's going to be to move things or to move people.
Right.
So, but anyway, that's just our view, my view from where I sit. Whatever. What do I know? I'm in the Princeton bubble, falling on my face. What are you gonna do?
Moving on, Ellen. Cruise has released its first ever cruise safety report. It says it details the approaches, tenets, and processes that make up its commitment to safety. And this was a good thing to see.
Absolutely. And, it's sort of what I call a necessary condition for anybody who's going to be in this business. You've got to be safe. Now, what is safe enough? That's a big question, but you can't be absolutely safe. As we say here, I'm absolutely safe if I stay home, but then a window drops down and almost chops off and guillotines my thumb. I mean, I should have been out in the car.
Tesla is making its latest FSD update available to all customers who paid for the option. Until now, some had been blocked, even though they paid for it, because they didn't score high enough on metrics Tesla uses to set insurance rates. So available to all, but Tesla is letting people know that you do have to be attentive.
Yeah, and I think I think they're putting that up front, and I think they're doing, I don't know, maybe they could do a better job. At least they're not hiding it, that's what you need to do. And they're putting in some things to make sure you don't cheat.
Yeah, right. There's some new technology they're going to employ with that to detect autopilot cheating devices.
I think it's fantastic. I mean, there are some people out there who just want to be cute. Okay. And okay, fine. Okay. You cheat. It's actually pretty easy to cheat on anything. You don't even have to pay income tax. Really. I mean, we had, never mind, someone who, never mind. Everybody knows the answer to that one, but whatever. You can sit there and claim whatever. You sure? Okay. And it's nice to see they're making substantial efforts to try reduce the cheating, as is NHTSA, to be able to go after folks who claim they're going to sell cheating devices. Okay. Again, much of the safety problem has to do with cheating and with misbehavior. It really doesn't have to do that wheels are flying off GM vehicles, or they're dropping transmissions, or they're whatever, the thing's falling apart. It's all, it's not all, but it's mostly, largely human things. Okay. And it certainly is one of the other motivations to try to get the human out of the loop, because the human's the problem. Now you got to be good enough to be able to do that. And we still have a little bit of ways to go unless we put this in the right areas in which it does already work that way. And then in those places, we should absolutely do it, which is, our whole argument about the moves and Trenton and all those arguments. So we don't need to recite those again.
And I guess what this is going to mean as well, they're going to have more systems out there being employed, and they'll be collecting more data than they were before.
They are amassing a phenomenal database of driving behavior by humans, for which they can compare it to the driving behavior by its stack, for which they should be able, out of that, to be able to really determine how much better one is than the other. And in terms of, the whole process here is that we don't know what we don't know, to be able to trip over the various corner cases that exist out there more quickly. So that when we do find out, oh my goodness, we forgot about this, where'd this sucker come from, they can go out and fix it. And of course, as they've demonstrated with all the recalls that they've had, I don't know how many recalls had to go back to a dealer. They don't have dealers, or they've had to deal with physically. Most of the ones I read about, my goodness, even before the recall is issued, they've already fixed it with over-the-air updating.
Right.
I mean,
you have to read down sometimes to the second or third paragraph of the story to find out that they were fixing things over the air when they announce a recall.
Yeah. And but my goodness, this is, if you look at it, we know it with our phones. How many times do we get, if you have iOS or even if you have Android, here, we're going to update you. People, anybody that's been on a computer, Microsoft updates Windows, and it's really a really fundamental quality revolution that the over-the-air updating has created, because it allows the systems that have been put in the vehicle to improve over time. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is like the opposite of the business case of selling cars. It was always, hey, I bought one, it's now obsolete the second I get it out of the dealer. I have to go in and buy a new one. I mean, folks, I don't know if they still do. I mean, when I was growing up, at least the rich kids that I knew, we didn't have a car. We couldn't afford it. But the rich guy, a new car, new Ford every year, new Cadillac every year. Oh, wow. I mean, does anybody do that anymore? I mean, now, Fred, with the Tesla you have, you can just say, I got a new over-the-air update. My car improved, every over-the-air update. Wow. Different business.
It is. And Tesla is now saying that the Cybertruck, or Electric is reporting that the Cybertruck has reached 1.5 million pre-orders. That's going to take a long time to fill.
I mean, I guess I still have my $1,000 that I put in, for a Model 3 that I've never exercised. I don't know if that was called an order. I just sent them, oh, hey, yeah, whatever. I don't know if I'll ever exercise it, whatever.
Well, the Cybertruck, I think, only requires $100 down.
Really? They only, oh, geez, no wonder. I mean, if 1.5 million people have just put $100 down, I don't know how many of them are actually going to be like me and never, close the deal.
It is refundable. So
it is. I know it's refundable, but it's probably, it's too much of a pain to refund it. It's better to have it in there. I don't know.
The newsletter mentions a company called HOLON, I think it's pronounced HOLON, a new brand entering what Clean Technica calls the emerging autonomous people mover industry. And I'm curious as to what that might be.
Yeah, so am I, and I'm, and I went through the other people can look through their website and so on, see what they have. As GM recognized a while ago, one really needs a different vehicle here. One needs a vehicle without a steering wheel and without all that. And I don't know, it's taken NHTSA forever to permit such things. I mean, really, we have rear view mirrors in cars, or I guess in case the camera doesn't work. But one doesn't need these things in these vehicles, and they can still be operated by a human using a joystick for the small amount of movement to back it up so that the tow truck can pick it up and take it away, which of course is going to need to happen. Elevators, you can go unscrew the thing and there's a little operator thing behind the whatever where the buttons are that you can go in there and manipulate the elevator. Okay. New York City subway has a glass box that you can break and pull that thing down and stop the train. Okay. All systems have human overrides opportunities on them. These systems will also. These are not autonomous systems that are going to go out there and just go do their thing without us having an opportunity to say, hey, wait a minute. No, you don't. Okay. And nobody's even claims of that. Maybe some Sunday supplement or comic book someplace or whatever, or, tweet. But, nobody's serious.
So that when you say, take me to Princeton, and it winds up driving to West Virginia or heads down, you can stop it, right?
Yeah, you'll be able to stop. Of course.
Right.
Of course. Nobody would get in it if you can't. Okay. And sure, somebody will break the glass and stop it. I don't know what the rate is at which people break the glass in New York City subway system and stop the train. Whatever.
Pretty rare, I think.
It's pretty rare. And every once in a while, some human does misbehave and do things like that. There was an article, I don't think I referred to it, in which, somebody shined a laser into one of the automated vehicles, and it sort of went nuts because, it shined a laser a certain way into a LiDAR.
Right.
Okay, so now you're cute. You did that. Okay. If somebody shines a laser while I'm driving in my eyes, while I'm driving down the New Jersey Turnpike, I'm dead.
Right.
Okay. Wasn't really tough. Great.
You highlight a piece from the New York Times this month, Alan, in the newsletter. It's headlined, "Can AI write recipes better than humans? We put it to the ultimate test." And the article points out that often the individual behind the recipe, the dish, is just as important as the recipe itself. And that's something that AI can't really compete with, at least for now.
Well, I mean, come on. I mean, it's going to write Julia Child's cookbook. Cut it out. Never. Okay. It's just not that good. I mean, really, it doesn't do anything. Really.
There's a lot of art and other things.
There's art,
creativity
creativity and all that stuff, blah, 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 da, da, da. Sure, it does something different. And yeah, you might say, hey, that's creative. I don't know. I mean, cut it out. But since Cade Metz wrote it, and Cade's a good friend of ours and whatever, and is certainly in the smart driving car world. I just thought it was interesting, and I liked his conclusions or their conclusions.
The Drive reports Mercedes is now offering a $1,200 yearly subscription to unlock the full performance of their electric vehicles. In other words, they're going to let you misbehave for $1,200 a year, is the way you might put it.
Yeah. Yeah, as I put in there, I mean, as long as they geofence that thing. So if I'm at Watkins Glen, then it lets me do it, or if I'm on the track and it lets me do it, or if I'm on my private property, it lets me do it. But to do it, let it be done on Cleveland Lane out here on the Jersey Turnpike. Come on, cut it out, okay? And or on the Autobahn, fine, but it knows. It knows where it is,
Right.
so it can geofence it. Okay, but this is like crazy. It's like, the speedometer on my car, it shows 220 miles an hour. Where am I going to do 220 in Jersey? I mean, cut it out. And this is again, part of the candy that's sold out there with respect to these vehicles, and you really have to ask, cut it out.
Right.
And if it's in an
Even
emergency,
with most of the EVs, Tesla and others, when they say you can get from 0 to 60 in, I don't know, 3 seconds or whatever it is, you're going to hurt your back. At least I would.
well, there has been one insurance company that's gone out there. I don't know if they fabricated the data or not, but it certainly seems plausible. In fact, the rear end collisions associated with electric vehicles is greater than ICEs. Why? Because you tap that thing and it goes boom. And there, what are they calling that? The tap problem, or somebody's given that a name, because of the excessive acceleration that's associated with it. And again, the amount of intelligence that's in the vehicle, it knows what situation it's in. If it wants to turn this thing on as an emergency thing because you're about to crash, then great. But to turn it around so that you can have a joyride, maybe if if there's nobody around, if you're in the middle of, whatever, geofence this thing.
Some other headlines: Nuro, an autonomous delivery vehicle venture, has laid off 20% of its workforce. This is, I guess, what we were talking about before, when the generating revenue.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have groceries delivered to you. Okay, I guess. But again, to be able to do it in the volume that you need to do it, where you're now competing against somebody going to the store themselves and not charging themselves, the the economic advantage is maybe not all that much, maybe. Although, boy, I love to have an Amazon deliver packages to my front door. It's like Christmas and Hanukkah every day. Whoo, I got a gift, you know? And it certainly is. And at times it's a heck of a lot better environmentally, in fact, than me having to drive to Home Depot to go get a new faucet to replace the faucet that I had to replace in my kitchen too, to go on Amazon, ride to do blah blah blah. So yeah, there are some advantages, but again, to have the scale such that the revenue supports the amount of work that needs to be done to not only get it to the quality that it is today, but to continue to improve it, because we're still just at the beginning. Those folks used to be very expensive. Now, given the number of layoffs that have been going on in Meta and Twitter and Amazon and all over the other places, all of a sudden, all these great Princeton graduates who were commanding such high salaries, maybe they'd be willing to work for a little. I don't know. So maybe the marketplace is going to adjust to allow the systems to be developed such that there's a real market out there.
BrightDrop, meanwhile, has told investors that it is on track to reach $1 billion in revenue next year. This is a GM subsidiary in the all-electric delivery vehicle business, I think, right?
Great. I mean, wonderful. I guess yeah, wonderful. I tried to find the details. I wasn't able to find them. I hope somebody, sends me an email or something like that and shows me where the details of that are. But whoa, it seems to me great.
As long as it's accurate.
Well, I mean, hey, the future's uncertain, which is the beauty of it. Okay. It's also only sort of Gaussian, which is really hurts. Because if it was uncertain but Gaussian, no problem. Yeah, it's tough looking. It's tough looking in the future. Look, I didn't know I'd be all like this today when we would have to do this. I wouldn't have tripped if I would have known I was going to trip, which never mind.
Where was the airbag when you needed it?
Yeah, what? Jeez, I need a yes.
On that note, we want to thank CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, for helping to make this podcast possible. CARTS is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. You can find us at smartdrivingcar.com, on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon, Apple, Google, Spreaker, wherever you turn to for podcasts. Smart speakers can play us too. You can find my tech reports at textination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alan Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Please stay safe and get well, Alan.
I'm not very unwell, and I'm in great shape. Hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I got a chance to have 4 of my grandkids from my daughter's sides over here at the house. It was great. I hope everybody had a great one. Look forward to having a wonderful holiday season in the coming month.